I'd like to welcome you tonight to our work session and board meeting, and we'll start off with the work session, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. McKinney. Great to see everyone this afternoon. We've got quite a bit of information to cover this afternoon. We're going to treat our work session tonight as much of a professional learning unit, if you will, as we are just a general work session. There's a lot of information out there that we need to share, and as I was sitting over at the AASB meeting the other day, I was between Dr. Law and Stephen Lewis, and I found myself leaning forward, whispering to Dr. Law, and then leaning back, I think it was just the opposite, to Stephen Lewis. And what I was trying to do was inform them as to all the major players are in education in the state of Alabama. And so I actually made this, and I think I shared it with the board a few weeks ago. What it made me realize is that with new board members, and Mr. Tyndall has been in Tuscaloosa City for a while, they have a way of doing things, and Orange Beach has their way of doing things, and so we need to bring him, and we will bring Mr. Lewis as well, up to speed with the rest of the board. But there's some information I think that we're going to go over tonight that would be beneficial for our board to revisit. So this is very informal. This is very much like a teaching module, if you will. We're going to have different people to come up and present. And if you have questions, board members, please stop them and ask them questions tonight, okay? So some of the topics that we're going to talk about tonight, Mr. Blevins is going to lead us off. He's going to talk about the creation of a school, what all is involved in that. And then Attorney Nash Campbell is going to come forward and talk about the Board of Education and what the role of the board is in our community. And then Mr. Gray and I are going to tag team the operating budget. And then Ms. Courtney's going to come forward and talk about accountability. One more time, talk about the ACT Junior Snapshot. And then we're going to have Ms. Cherney, who's going to come up, and she's going to talk about our new parent square that has taken the place of Remind. And we rolled that out July 6th, I believe, to all of our parents. And then we're going to look at some capital plan estimates. That's part of the task order that we had left over that we did not have at the last meeting. We will not go in great detail. I'm just going to say it's simply there. When we come back for our board retreat on the 21st, we'll dive into that much deeper. And then we'll have our financials. Any questions? Working on ownership tonight, building capacity. Here are some other potential future topics. Really have already planned to cover some of these items at our board retreat. A few of them in August, but August will be at the Performing Arts Center. It's the 99th percentile, the Mako Scholars Award Program. And so that'll take up most of our work session. I think it's August the 13th, okay? And we'll talk about all these other items as we move forward, okay? And board members, if you have any particular item that you want us to hit on, please let us know. And we'll roll it out there, okay? Any questions about what we're trying to do tonight? All right, Mr. Blevins, sir.
Yes, sir.
Come and talk to us about, you are clicking, you are the owner of the clicker.
I'm an old history teacher, so I kind of feel, and then God created the school system, creating a school system. A lot of people don't realize what it takes not only to create a school system, but also to create a school within a system. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, establishment of a new school site within an existing system. It's accomplished with a combination of board action and then collaboration or coordination with the state of Alabama, State Department of Education. This administrative process includes everything from the state, and I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but recognizing as official site the giving of an identification number. I believe the middle high school is 0020, if I'm not mistaken. We are 170 or 74. 174, that's right, because of the 174. So it gives that identification number. So when we do a lot of stuff with the state, we have to put that identification number for the system and for the school. So they assign that. Determining grade configurations, integration of state reports, federal reports, those kind of things, all the way down to cost centers. I know Matt and I just had our big budget meeting for FY27, and we talked a lot about cost centers. those things are assigned or worked with through the State Department of Education. And again, this is not just a public request that's made. This is a collaboration between the local school board and the state of Alabama, ALSTE. In the case of Orange Beach Middle and High School, for example, the Baldwin County Board of Education would have completed this process. Remember, the elementary school was already there. It was already under Baldwin County. It already had a code, already had that. When the middle high school was created by Baldwin County Board of Education, they had to go through this process. So Orange Beach Middle and High School, again, was designated, constructed, and operated by Baldwin County Board of Education as one school serving grades 7 through 12. That was their determination, was to do a 7th through 12th grade school. It opened in August of 2020, and then of course Orange Beach City Schools was created because the ribbon right there in front of the middle high school on July the 1st, 2022. Since the opening, the campus has been recognized as a single educational institution rather than a separate middle and high school. It serves, there's the Alabama State Code right there, in fact, 174-0020 for that school. You guys are, Ms. Hart, you guys are 0010, aren't you? I think, if I'm not mistaken. Serves grades 7 through 12 under this designation and receives one state accountability report card, receives the state and federal reports or records, comes under one school. And again, the campus is Orange Beach Middle and High School, a single entity, 7 through 12. This designation is also reflected not only in the building name out front, but in all public records. And when you talk about Orange Beach City Schools, we always identify as having two schools, Orange Beach Elementary and Orange Beach Middle High School. And just, for the record, there's a nice link right there to the actual, I think it's AL.com, no offense, Gulf Coast Media, AL.com article about the opening of the school back in August of 2020. Any questions for me?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and you can get back to me on any of these, but is there, like when you're working with the state, is there a minimum number of students for a school? Say, for example, I know some places have like an intermediate, for example. It is, and obviously we're different with the foundation, but before they will agree to pay for, additional principals or APs or any of that.
So there is an allocation from the foundation unit based on typically 500 or so is where the numbers start for APs and principals and counselors and library media specialists. And then you have to look at your return on investment. Just how many students do you want in the school so that it can, and everybody else is supported with the foundation program. We're not, of course. So there's an application that has to be completed of sorts. There's a whole process, but there is a part where you declare what grades you're going to cover and the feeder pattern in which the kids are going to come out of, because they've got to shift that ADM from one year to the next year and predict, so they've got foundation units for that. So grade spans are determined, in this case, by Baldwin County Schools. There is not necessarily a minimal or a maximal, but I will tell you from a return on investment, I personally would not ever be able to recommend anything less than 500 to a Board of Education. And typically you get around 800 or so, unless you've got a really depends on facilities this day and time, because, it costs $130 million to build a high school next door. So, sir?
46.
Yeah, a little more than that. So it takes a lot to build. High school is a little bit of an anomaly, but 500 to 800 would be ideal. That's where the sweet spot is for the money.
And the state also assigns out, again, to the foundation, it assigns out based on X number of kids. You get a counselor, an AP, you get all the library, and then depending on grade level, every 250 to 300 gets you another one of those. We actually had a school at Amos that was 200 kids.
Yeah.
Some very small elementary neighborhood school. And again, return on investment on something like that, not too great.
Right.
What else? Mr. McKinney, you had a question.
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't remember when we formed this school that we made a specific request to group the middle school and high school together. That was already determined by the state or the county.
Well, actually, that was determined by the Baldwin County Board of Education when they made their request to the state. They were the ones that said, we'd like this to be a middle high school, we're looking at building at this. They had to get, of course, all the permissions and permits and all that stuff. But that was all done in 2020 Actually, probably before that, because it takes a good year to do all that stuff. We opened, I think, 2 new schools in Amos, and it took us about a year to do all that stuff with the state in order for the buildings and things like that.
Okay, so that wasn't something we did in originating our school or that we've done since. That was something that we
Inherited, yes, sir.
and we continue to do it that way.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Great, I will pass it off then to, all right. Matt, thank you.
Well, like Mr. Wilkes said, I think the goal of this work session is more for a learning opportunity, not only for the board, but the community as a whole. So some of what I say tonight might be a little strange, but it is for the public as well, not just for you all as a board. So even though this great board and school system has had a record pace, unheard of success in just a few years, it's hard to believe that it's really still an infant as a school system and a school board. And it really is hard for a lot of people to explain that there is a very big learning curve for everybody to have such a change in their community. And a lot of people frankly just don't understand that there's a lot of misconceptions about the difference between what a municipality is and a city school system, or even a, for instance, county commission and a county school board. So I've just noticed that there's been a lot in multiple media areas around here that we'd like to clear some of that up. Just to start out, under Alabama statute 1611.1, a city such as Orange Beach needs to have 5,000 citizens or more to be able to create its own school system. And I'll check that box and fast forward, here we are. Then under 1611.2, it says that it's clear that the general administration and supervision of public schools in a city such as Orange Beach shall be vested in the city board, which is composed of 5-member residents, which that's who you are, and that shall not consist of any city council members. That's pretty important, because these board members, which are all appointed by staggered terms by the city council. Basically, I want to have 4 takeaways that, I want to have 4 takeaways here that, number 1, you are your own local educational agency of the state. You're your own arm of the state. And 2, municipalities cannot interfere, and your municipality cannot interfere with the business of you as a local agency of the state. You're actually an arm of the state. And 3, the council's role with your actual day-to-day business is extremely limited. It comes down to your appointment, which I'll explain that further. And then 4, any overreach in that relationship causes potential liability. But I'll get into that much further. But bringing you to this slide, that's where we get into a lot of case law where it says that Alabama law is unequivocal that city boards of education are agencies of the state of Alabama, not subdivisions or agencies of municipal government. That Enterprise case is basically dead on about this type of situation, because like county school boards, city school boards are agencies of the state empowered to administer their education within the cities. And a city board is not a subdivision of that municipal government, which I think has been misconceived in a lot of media lately. But also that court specifically noted that a city school board's relation to the city is analogous to a county board and, for instance, like a county commission. Like over in Mobile, we have the Mobile County Commission and the Mobile County School System. They have nothing to do with each other. The only vague conception they have with each other is the county revenue department sends the money on through to the school system and then they're done. So that principle was reaffirmed in numerous cases, and I'm going to end up talking about 2 specific cases thoroughly that might kind of hit the nail on the head with some things that you've all heard recently. But that Phoenix City Board of Education case is pretty important. It reiterated that city boards of education are local agencies of the state. Hutt v. Etowah also stated that municipal boards of education are not agencies of municipalities, agencies of the state. They are empowered to administer public education within the cities. And the court observed that boards of education execute a state function, not a county function, namely education. So you are purely here only to educate, only to have educational functions. You'll take any recommendations that your superintendent gives you and then vote on them. Mainly policy related, hiring related, and so forth. Other than that, you only hire and fire 3 actual individuals: superintendent, the CSFO, and your board attorney. Outside of that, it all comes from that man right there. So, City of Helena was a pretty landmark case related to this issue. The court stated that in their governance, the public education boards of education are independent from counties and municipalities which they're located. Again, this is just right along the same lines of what I've been stating. That's from 2024, so this is very, very recent. Justice Shaw went even deeper to state that a city board of education is a separate entity from a city while it is responsible for administration of public schools within the boundaries of the city. It is an agency of the state. Again, can't reiterate that, and that's incredibly important because it also gives you a lot of immunity protections. It's not like a city. Cities are actually pretty wide open to potential lawsuits. Y'all are not, which good for you. Unless you get to federal court. We don't need to talk about that right now. And finally, 16.3.11 is where you find out that the boards of education, specifically the State Board of Education, as a state superintendent, professional staff, and they exercise general control and supervision over public schools. Essentially, that state superintendent is going to give you out all the memos that you've seen come over the years that say, hey, you need to tweak your policies, follow it, or else maybe I'll withhold some funding from you. It's not so nasty, Graham, like I just put it, but that's really what it comes down to. You better do it or you're not getting your money. Of course, we don't get anything anyway, so maybe we'll do whatever we want.
That was nasty.
Strike that. Strike that.
Say that in the contract.
But anyway, that's just acting through the state superintendent. They're supervisory, they're regulatory. It's very rare you see someone step out of line from what the State Department says. It would result in a lawsuit almost immediately. It's better to get clarification than to actually just not do it. Anyway, in the end, us as local boards, we just need to handle that administratively. It comes down to you. Other than that, you set the tone for how you want to handle your local school system. Through the multiple different ways, when you open your doors, you want to do drug testing, things of that nature. That's all your purview on how you want to do that. So that brings us back to the role of city councils with respect to city boards of education. Alabama couldn't be more careful in how they delineated those roles. 16.11.3, that role of the city council ends when they select you as board members in their April meeting. You get your 5-year staggered terms, which as you were all created in the board, you all had one off each. So everybody had a 1 year, then a 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year. But all that's starting to get refilled as we go. After those vacancies are filled, that's it. There's no more interference. Everything should be done at that point. Based on all the cases that we've been discussing right now, a city council member, especially one acting individually or independently from a council body, arguably has no inherent right or legal authority to direct communications to school officials demanding answers regarding internal school system operations or decisions. This is where this gets really interesting. The Day case that's listed up there involved a mayor and city council attempting to force the resignation of a Board of Education member and interfere with the board's hiring of a new school superintendent. The court noted that the mayor had issued an ultimatum demanding the board members resign by midnight and that appointment of a new superintendent should be left to a new board appointed by the council. So ultimately, the Supreme Court stated the city council must refrain from interfering with the members from the Board of Education in their functions as members of such board, and particularly from interfering with the efforts of the board to employ a qualified person as principal of the city schools. The Supreme Court affirmed that from Circuit Court and went further to say that the councilmen were acting in concert with, if councilmen were acting in concert to try to push a board member, those councilmen had no comprehension as to the limits of their power and authority in the premises and the powers and authority vested in the boards of education by the statutes and decisions of the state. Essentially, the court basically said, That city council had absolutely no idea what they were doing, they had no idea what their powers were, and they needed to go home and sit on their hands. The other case, well, I want to focus on Phoenix City, which, funny is, this is where Mr. Wilkes is from, but it was before his time.
Thank you. Please, it had nothing to do with it.
A city council formed a committee to investigate and conduct, investigate and look into the conduct of the Board of Education, and the committee sent the board's attorney a letter directing the board and its superintendent to produce certain information and documents concerning the board's activities. When the board declined to comply, the committee issued a subpoena to the superintendent. The court ultimately decided that a city board of education is an independent agency and it's not a subdivision of the municipal government. And the court basically told the city to kick rocks. Point is, that seems oddly familiar to some behavior that we have to deal with from time to time as city boards, and it's just not tolerable. Courts have already been ruling on it. If it gets pushed too far, boards can act accordingly. That brings me back to the 4 points that we discussed at the very beginning. City boards are state agencies. Municipal interference is prohibited. Council's statutory role is very, very limited, and overreach could create legal exposure because the court specifically stated if a council member reaches too far, it will threaten their immunity protections provided by the state constitution. Any questions?
Can you give an example of reaching too far?
Emailing a board member or a superintendent and telling them to act a certain way, or involving employment, policy decisions, or so forth. I can be more specific.
No, that's good. I mean, employment, that's one that kind of comes up.
Employment's a big one. Like, for instance, hire a certain coach, hire a certain superintendent, fire someone, that type of situation.
And the state law has dictated already that that's an overreach.
Absolutely. Supreme Court of Alabama has.
Any questions?
So ultimately, I think that you can feel confident in doing what's best for students in Orange Beach and not what's best for anyone else.
Top priority, sir. Thank you so very much. Appreciate that. All right. I think Mr. Gray and I are up. Mr. Gray says, just sit down, Mr. Brooks. I love budgets. He tolerates me. Thank you, Matt. Great job. He's going to talk about the operating budget. I'll just remind you, I think back in February, we talked a little bit about this and the fact that we have an operating budget and we have a capital budget. We're focusing tonight on the operating budget. Anything we get with capital over $1 million has to come from some other source, but we handle our operating, and that's just day-to-day functions. Matt's going to remind you a couple of those things, and we'll see where the board is when you get to the end of your presentation, and if we need to go any further in explanation, we can.
Okay, so just quickly, we'll distinguish the two budgets, even though we won't talk about capital budget very long, but basically, the operating budget supports our day-to-day, that's personnel costs. It's about 25% of our total operating budget, so that's a big part of that. We'll also, as we go through a couple of slides, start talking about student-based funding, and it's important to us and how it's different than every, not necessarily different, but it's set aside from other local money that we may receive. Those primary sources for the operating budget of revenue are ad valorem, which we know is property tax, sales tax, and then city appropriations, which is kind of how I refer to it. Basically, to us, that is 2% life. Okay. Just note as we go through this, the importance of the city appropriations, because approximately 1/3 of our operating budget is funded through lodging tax. Real quick, capital budget supports long-term investments. Don't necessarily have to exceed $1 million, but think long-term projects that don't really impact us day to day, renovations, construction items of that sort.
And then those primary funding sources are city appropriations. We have received some state supplemental funds annually, the capital purchase program money, advanced technology, which we'll talk about at budget time again. And we have had a couple of state and federal grants that have funded things throughout the system. So operating budget, we're going to distinguish here between what's student-based funding and what's not. All right, so approximately 2/3 of our operating funds follow the student. So just for example, if the students were still in a Baldwin County school system, those funds would remain with Baldwin County. Okay, they just went from Baldwin County to Orange Beach. And those sources are ad valorem and sales tax. We'll get into a little bit more detail of each, but the city support, the lodgings tax is not student-based funding. That's appropriation for the city. It would not follow a student if it went to a separate school system. And then state and federal funds are approximately 7 to 10% of our operating budget, so a very small amount. So here's a schedule that we complete at the end of each year with our general purpose financial statements. There are two different types of ad valorem. There's a county-wide ad valorem and there's a district-wide ad valorem. Just know that the county-wide taxes are levied. They go to the county and they come back to us based on what I'll call student population, okay, or ADM, our students as a percent of all of Baldwin County. The district-wide ad valorem is taxes levied in Orange Beach and stay in Orange Beach. Okay? You can see there when they were voted on, if they have a lifespan on them and what their date of last collection is, and the value to us as a school system. Okay, so in total, ad valorem, it's going to be about $9.5 million, I believe, for this coming year's budget.
What is our operating budget totality? Remind us of that right now.
We finished it today, and the number we sit at is $24.8 million.
So roughly, he's talking about out of $25 million, $9 million is property tax.
Yes, sir. Okay. The second portion of this is sales tax. This is a little bit more complicated, but the way that it would be worded, if I had to tell you how we collect sales tax, is 100% of 2 cents of sales tax is sent to us based on ADM. Okay, so we get, based off the ADM factor sent from the state to the county, 3.5% of sales tax collected. Okay, this is just general sales tax. I didn't go into all the different types. Now, you can see the 3 highlighted in orange rates there. Those are levied for boards of education that we get. Okay, there is that 1 penny that sits out there on its own that is the 40% of 1%. All right, it is not included in our calculations.
It's not nice conversation.
It's not. But what happens is we only receive 2/3 of the 3.5%. So our factor is really more like 2.4%. So what that says, if there was $100 of gross sales tax levied in Baldwin County, and if that was the receipts in a given month, we would receive $2.36. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
I'm watching their faces to see if it makes sense.
So this brings us to Act 95-314. And what this is at the end of every fiscal year, we have to prove to the state that we locally collect enough revenue to match, all right, and we're about to really lose everybody, 10 mills equivalent of property tax.
It's equivalent, but it's not property tax.
Does not have to be 10 mills of property tax, we only levy 3. So this is calculated, we send it to the state, it's signed off by the state. That number for us is probably going to be $20 million this year. So what that says is 1 mil of property tax in Orange Beach is worth $2 million. Okay? The way we meet that requirement is through everything that we've talked about. The $9.5 million of ad valorem. I didn't cover the sales and use tax, but that's actually like $4.7 million to us. And the remainder, we use the lodgings tax to meet that 10 mil equivalent.
We have to meet that in order to be a school system. Is that a true statement?
We do. Here it mentions foundation and program funding. we do participate, but we do not receive, but statutorily, we still have to meet this requirement. So, for us, the 2% lodging tax is approximately 1/3 of our district's annual operating revenue. And it's really important to us because without it, we don't necessarily meet that 10 mil requirement. For fiscal year 27, Mr. Wilkes pointed this out, $25 million in operating. Just know costs continue to go up. We have increases in PIP, so on and so forth. But it is important to our long-term stability. Questions, sir?
No, I'm reading the audience a little bit.
So a lot
Not
of
maybe as
this-
far down the rabbit hole we need to go tonight.
Okay.
We really probably need to get in for the board's sake, a spreadsheet, so you can see the actual report that Matt has to fill out. You're gonna see those three categories, how they all must add up in FY 27, as he's already indicated, to be more than $20 million. We have to have the 2% lodging tax to even be a school system, is what this really boils down to.
Yes, sir.
And what the city gives us is 8.6, 1/3 of that operating cost. The other 2/3 follow the students. You were saying, I'm sorry.
No, it just, a lot of this was kind of discussed very, very, very early on. And so meeting with new board members, and at that time, you know, there wasn't much of an audience. So just making sure to catch, I guess, we go over this with everybody in more detail is kind of the whole point of this.
I don't want to pick on the new guy, but Clay, does this all make sense?
It does. I was just going to ask, I think maybe in some of the financials, it talks about you're also tracking the value of the meal change
Yes.
per year
Yes.
at, was it 4.5%?
Typically, our receipts increase 4 to 4.5% year over year.
Okay,
The law
That
has a
doesn't
threshold of
necessarily-
7% now, but the end result is really 4.
Yeah.
right.
The assessed value and what we receive doesn't always line up 7 to 7. There's some
Right.
else there. So,
You can rest assured appraisals and everything will go up about 7% this year. And the difference for us will be about 4% in that.
Right.
Ad valorem's huge for us. If the storm comes through, that's the one thing that'll remain, regardless of the shape we're in.
Right.
And we're gonna talk about FY 32 at our board retreat, what happens if the storm does come through. Because that will greatly affect lodging and sales tax, as you all know. Any other questions for Mr. Gray? You did a great job, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. Getting a smorgasbord of variety tonight, and we've got Ms. Courtney that's going to talk about our ACT.
I'm very excited to talk about some numbers, but not that many. Far fewer numbers than you. So I am very excited to get to talk about the ACT and how well our students and our faculty and staff did last year. But we're doing a little bit of teaching, and so we're going to talk about the ACT and ways in which the scores can be communicated. Because over the last few years, we have had some questions about, look, we're not sure that we're comparing the same things year after year. And so we want to talk for a few minutes about how those scores can be communicated differently. The first is that there are different testing options that we can communicate. So the first would be the ACT highest composite. So you guys already are familiar with that. That's what most people are familiar with. Students have the opportunity to take the ACT up to 12 times. And so when they apply for college admission, for scholarship, they're using their highest composite, the score that they perform the best at over multiple testings. The second way that scores are often communicated is called an ACT super score, and most of you are already familiar with that as well. The ACT super score is when students are able to take take the test over different dates, but use the highest sub-score across different test dates. So I know that gets a little confusing, but let's just say they did their best in English in October, but they did the best in math in November. They can take both of those scores, they're averaged together, and they create a super score. So you'll see that, depending on what's high score, there could be some discrepancy. The third is this Alabama State Department of Education State Snapshot. And that is what our state uses for accountability purposes. That's the test that all of the schools in the state of Alabama take the junior year. All of the students take it, and that's what's used for our report card score. And so when we start to communicate, we just want to make sure that you all understand what we're communicating, how we're communicating it, and when you start to compare, you want to be sure that you're comparing the same thing. Because often, when you look at high school profiles and things like that, and that's what colleges will typically use for admission purposes when they're comparing students and looking at the rigor of high school and comparing them to other students in that school, they look at the profile. Well, schools aren't required to report this in any specific way. So sometimes you'll see that they report the highest composite, sometimes you'll see they report the highest subscore, and so when you are comparing, you just want to make sure that you're looking at the same thing. The other reason that sometimes it's communicated a little differently is because there are other variables when schools can communicate that. So there's voluntary student testing. That's when students say, hey, I want to improve my score, I'm going to take it a few more times. That's voluntary. Required student testing is like the state snapshot. Every student is required to take it. And so as you can imagine, the score reports and what comes out of that can be very different. And then reporting on internal initiatives can also be different. So let's just say that we're looking at a school profile and we would like to know, okay, what is the highest composite for the 12th grade? Let's just look at how they ended their year. Or let's look at what we need to do for our 10th grade going into 11th grade. And so you'll see different reports from different schools that come out and look different. And so that's why sometimes you need to clarify exactly what you're communicating. And so let's talk about what we do. All right, so how we communicate scores. When we communicate to our stakeholders, when we talk about the state of education, when you see what's on our school profile, when we talk to people about our ACT score, we use the state contracted snapshot. And that's the one that they take in March of their 11th grade year. That's the one that's used for accountability. And the reason that we do that is very important because it includes all of our students. It's not a voluntary basis. No one can get out of it. They can't decide they don't want to do it. And it also doesn't skew our scores by taking the highest composite or the highest sub-score. It gives us very detailed information about what we need to do to make decisions about instruction and about resources and about investment and what they need to learn. So when we talk about our scores, we're using the snapshot. Okay, so do our students perform? Is that a true measure? Probably not if we're looking at highest composite, because we fully anticipate that they'll take it a few more times or that they'll take it into their senior year for scholarship. But what we use it for is to make sure we're always comparing apples to apples and we know the growth of our students year over year. You have any questions about that? Because I'm about to talk about some numbers I'm pretty excited about.
What, the ACT prep class that we have, what grade students typically are in that class? What, is it a variety of grades, or do they take that in the 10th grade or the 11th grade before they take the
They can
test?
take it in the 10th grade or the 11th grade.
Okay.
And do know that we offer, because we want to gather data to make sure that we're helping our students in the best possible way. Our students do take a district ACT in October. Juniors in October and as spring sophomores, so that we can get them ready, they can practice, we can look at the data, and we can prepare them and infuse those things into all of our classes. So we do offer ACT prep, but now we're using ACT prep into all of our core courses.
So you're saying everybody has to take it the junior year?
Everyone has to, every
Even
student,
if they have no interest in going to college or junior college?
yes. Every student. We want to know how every student is doing, independent of what their goals are, because we know most all of you have had juniors in high school. The chances of them knowing exactly what they want to do as a junior is very unlikely. There are some great kiddos who have a plan and get after it, but it's normal not to know. So we want them to have every opportunity, and if they change their mind and they want to go to a 2 or 4 year institution, we want to make sure that they're prepared. And here's the thing that we know most importantly, whether they decide to go into the college route or whether they go into the workforce, we want to know that they're best prepared. And the score that they make indicates that preparation for us in a lot of different ways. So no matter where they are or what their plans are, it's our job to make sure that we do our best to prepare them for it. So every student takes it.
So the test that you said they take in the 10th grade, not every one of them is required to take that?
So it isn't like the state snapshot in which it's required, but it is a full testing day for our students. Our students are expected to be there. It's during the school day. We want everyone to take part in it. Now, it's not like state accountability where, they're looking to see how many missed and things like that, but it is very important. And we're building a great culture where our students want to show how well they're prepared. So I think that, we have very, very few students that miss the test. It's typically whatever would be normally counted as an excuse absence for the reason they would miss. We have very, very high test rate.
But the ones that take it 11th grade, if they miss, they have to take a makeup, right?
So the,
Generally speaking, unless there's some reason that they're not as good. We've
Right,
had
if there's-
hospitalizations in the
yeah,
past and so.
Within reason.
Right.
so we offered our sophomore year. That's something that we choose to do internally,
Thank you.
not something that's required
Correct.
for our own data tracking
purchased that.
purposes.
Correct.
So that we can kind of.
But they also take a state assessment.
We
For
also
growth.
do the ACT Secure.
Right.
So they actually have two in the 10th grade year, one that we purchased and one that's required by the state. One that's required by the state is where we get our growth for the ACT. We compare that state test in the 10th grade to the state test in the 11th grade to get the growth of the student over that period of time. That's for accountability. So we do a lot of assessments. You knew that. Just a lot of that.
These are the scores from this past spring. And we are so, so proud of our students and our teachers and our administrators for leading the charge. Our students went rose a full point from over last year's spring assessment. And so there's a progression. Remember when I said we're looking at apples to apples, these are all state snapshots. Okay, so these are junior year, 23, 24, 25, and 26.
So one set for each one of those bars.
And I think it's also important, when we look at that, we're comparing, again, this is a junior year assessment. And so when you're looking at an overall composite for a student who's at the end of their senior year, they've had a lot more, time to prep and get ready. These are our juniors. So we're very pleased with the work that our students and teachers have put in here. Great job to Mr.
Yes.
Shaw and his folks.
Students and staff, tremendous job. Any questions? Anybody want to volunteer to take the senior class to, is it senior class now?
We've got some volunteers.
They are.
They get a little trip because they beat that one point. So we incentivize it just a little bit. So they're going to take a little trip first at school. Any other questions or thoughts?
I have a question. This is which area of getting scores? Because some people go to the website of Google that knows everything, and they research ACT scores, and they come up with different answers from different entities. What entities do we use, and which ones should we stay consistent with? Because I found one website that was astonishingly wrong.
So this data is taken from ACT score reports, directly from the test side where all of the results are. And this is representative of every student. If you want to find more information about other schools and sort of how the best data to find is PARCA. You can go to PARCA, you can find that data, and now if you go to PARCA and you look up our scores, you're going to find that PARCA shows ours are a little bit higher than us. And that is because these are raw scores. This is every student. That's before we take out FAY kids, before we take out anything else. And so these are all of our kids who took it. If you go to Park, I want to say maybe ours shows for 24, maybe 19.6.
Yeah, they pull out full
But
academic
they
year,
pull
non-full academic
kids
year.
out
Right.
that are non-full academic year. But this is every child that took the ACT with us.
Everything
So-
that you'll see from us before the report card is raw data, okay? We're not going to try to, well, we do, but I just don't share it. What we predict what the state's going to do, but we don't get to share that because we could be wrong.
And you're gonna find that there are some things that you can Google that, you know, there are some sites out there that promote schools and do things, you know, kind of on their own, and a lot of that is self-reported data. So kids can log in and say, hey, I made a whatever, and then it starts
It's
to
an average.
populate what they've said, which is, you know, not always true. And remember, you don't know what they're comparing. That could be the super score, or the highest composite, or the state snapshot. You really don't even know what they're submitting, or if it's accurate. But this data is directly from the ACT reporting site.
And we haven't deviated, won't deviate from reporting this. Thank you. Good job. Ms. Cherney, Parent Square.
Alrighty, well, this is an exciting update for me, and I hope that everyone else, once they get to know Parent Square a little bit, will be just as excited. So as you may know, Remind is going away. So the capabilities we have to communicate with our parents, for our staff to communicate with their students, is no longer going to be a resource that is available for us. Thankfully, Parent Square purchased Remind, and we vetted several different communications platforms, and Parent Square just had the best seamless transition that we could find from Remind to an alternate platform. So, and it actually expands upon the capabilities that Remind currently has. So really, if you're looking for a one-stop shop, Parent Square is it. It comes with a smart site integration, so that is coming soon. We're having a little domain trouble on my other side, so it's already done because I thought it would be. So our website and our communications platform will all operate under one system, which is nice. From like a district alert, if we have to close the school for weather or anything like that, it's one place versus previously that's 3 or 4 places to get that information out. So it'll post to your website, it will send a message to your parents, you can do a voice call, you can send emails, all of the things, all in one platform. It really is robust. You can do field trip form signups, volunteer signups, all in one place. And so we are excited and hope that everyone, as they get to know it a little bit better and transition, will enjoy having everything all either on your app or on your computer. So.
I have a question. Will there be like downtime or anything like as everything's transitioning or over that time?
No, so we've already technically transitioned. So Remind hasn't closed yet. So if for some reason someone's not able to reach their parents or students through Parent Square yet, which they all can, they still have Remind currently. So they're overlapping right now, and obviously as soon as that is closed out, we'll make everyone aware, you know, effective on this day, Remind is no longer an option. But we hope everyone will just go ahead and get in the routine of getting with Parent Square, because it does sync with PowerSchool as well. So even if a parent hasn't activated their account, they're still going to receive that notification because we have their contact information.
What is the frustration level going to be on the transition?
I hope 0. I hope that people will like being able to have it as an app. You'll still be able to have it emailed to you and texted to you. And one of their most reputable features, I think that some parents will really enjoy, is with Remind, if a teacher was reminding, everyone about the test tomorrow and you're in a meeting at 10 a.m. and that's when the teacher's planning was, so she sent her message, that's coming to your phone. If you're a parent that's like, I don't want my phone dinging all day long, they have a digest option, so anything that's a non-emergent communication will be all compiled for all of your students into one email or one text message that you pick the time that it comes to your inbox. So I think that will help, hopefully, if that will improve people's experience with a lot of the communications, because I know everyone's getting a lot for those of you that have students. So we hope that it's just a seamless transition. Obviously, having to download an app might be something new, but you technically don't have to do that. That's just the recommendation to make sure you have a good experience.
So even, I don't even want to say this because I don't know if it happens, but just thinking of room for error.
Yeah.
So theoretically speaking, if I did not download or do what you told me to do, I will still receive communication.
Correct.
Okay. So,
And now if you opt out, then no.
right,
But as long as
that's
they-
still an actual, I would have had to check.
Yes.
You know, just pretend that time flips up on the paper.
Correct. Yes, so unless they jump through the hoops to say, I do not want to be contacted, it will still come to them through their text and their email, unless they set those preferences. All right.
Any other questions? Good?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Train. Super job. Just briefly here, guys, you can click under the estimated estimates here, and this is from Mills, Riser Mills Group. And we did not have prices the last time we spoke. We were not too far off on our guesstimations. As we presented the task order last time, the new gymnasium, $8.5 million. There were two renovation options that they looked at, F and G. He quoted those, and then he showed the elementary school with option G about 12.5, and then elementary school with option F a little less at 11.2. And then the middle school, we were looking at the Blue Economy Innovation Center, and we were also looking at the two-story class wing. He broke it down, so there would probably be some extensive site work there. We don't all know about the soil there, so that's not surprising. And just for reference, I had estimated the Blue Center at about $7 million, and he's estimating a little bit higher for that. None of this is actual. This is all in the planning stage. We said some things that probably will send us back to the drawing board the last time. But for capital planning purposes, we need some number by some projects. I think we're up to about 6 projects right now.
Yes.
We'll present in August 10. So we'll have to kind of draw some stuff up in the dirt, so to speak. Get to 10, but we've got to turn in 10 over a 5-year period of time. So that's brief, but just know those numbers are probably 19 more pages that really break it down. You see the square foot cost there. So I was 500, 550 on some of that. So about right. Any questions or comments? Everybody knows that this is just a concept. This is not where we're headed or anything like that, but we've got a plan. Mr. Gray, the financials, right quick.
Yes, sir.
Anything in regards to the narrative that you want us to bring attention to?
Yes, sir. We'll just run through revenues for the month. Just under 900,000. Obviously, this will be May, so in that would be a significant increase in sales and use tax, just given spring break month came through. Expenses for the month in line with where we expect, 1.9 million. Revenues are at 55% of budget, expenditures are at 52%. I always like to see revenues higher than expenditures, so that's good. We'll continue to scroll, sir. There's our major revenues. You can see the large increase in sales and use tax here at $546,000. To note, the general fund's balance did decrease $900,000 in May, bringing the reserve to $14.8 million, but still at 7.171. And if I'm remembering correctly, we're almost 2 months ahead of where we were this time last year. So we've been able to improve that number so far this year, even before the big summer revenues have hit. So,
Is that a little better than summer of '23?
yes, sir.
Inside joke. Summer of 23 is gas years.
I wrote a song about that one. There's your calculation, if you're like me and want to see numbers. If not, I've already really told you all that, so. And then the final is the heat map, no change from previous month. Everything's still in really good shape. We'll see some of those yellows disappear, become green as the local revenues start coming in here towards the end of the year. We are actually in now, not here, but now in Q4 of this fiscal year. We only have 3 months left, so a lot to be done.
You guys have any questions for Mr. Gray? County Department is doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. McKinney, that concludes the work session, sir.
At this time, the invocation will be by the Director of
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather today in service to our students, our staff, our families, and our community. We recognize that every decision we make in this room has the potential to shape lives and create opportunities for the next generation. We thank you for the dedicated educators, employees, families, and community members who partner with us each day. Bless their work, strengthen their hearts, and remind them that their investment in our students has an impact that reaches far beyond the classroom. We ask for your protection over our schools, especially in the coming weeks. Keep our students safe, encourage them to grow in both knowledge and character, and help us continue building a school system where every child is challenged academically, supported personally, and prepared for the future. Dear Lord, please help us to lead with integrity, serve with compassion, and remain grateful for the privilege of this work. Let everything we do reflect a spirit of unity, purpose, and service. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
I'd like to call a meeting to order at this time. Our Assistant Superintendent.
Please stand to pledge allegiance. Attention and salute pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Tindall, do you mind closing that? Yes, sir. I'm sorry, we should have closed it already. There you go.
Director Courtney, would you call the roll?
Mr. McKinney,
Here.
Ms. Robinson,
Here.
Ms. Nix,
Here.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Tindall.
Here.
We have a quorum. You have had an opportunity to review the agenda that was posted on the site. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Consideration of the previous minutes. We've also had an opportunity to review those. Are there any changes and deletions, modifications? Seeing none, the chair would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Dr. Blevins, recognition.
I received another degree just sitting here. We want to welcome our guest, Mr. and Mrs. Payne. And recognize this is Anna Byrne. Anna Byrne's our UNISERV Director for AEA. We met her this morning. Welcome.
Thank
You're going to bring donuts next time, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure of that. Ms. Brownlee. And then I hope you get your last name. Cammie, is it Rossi?
Yes.
Ah, got it. Fantastic. And you're with
Gulf Coast Media.
Gulf Coast Media. Thank you. Good to have you with us. And I want to recognize first meeting in their capacities, new capacities in Orange Beach City Schools. You've already met Dr. Mary Catherine Law, Assistant Superintendent. We have Ms. Cindy Hart, Principal of Orange Beach Elementary, and with her is Ms. Laura Hagigi. She is Assistant Principal. And so he doesn't fill out, there's Josh. But thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkes.
this time, I'd like the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Mary Catherine Law, is going to come and lead us in our announcements tonight.
Right. We will turn your attention, Mr. Wicks has pulled up a list of upcoming events. You're invited to all of these. I'm just gonna kind of let you know the ones that are coming up that are most important that you attend. Board retreat, obviously, July 21st. We're looking forward to having you at that. And then new employee orientation is July 29th and 30th. It will be here. And we have been in the planning stages of that and are looking forward to welcoming all of our new employees. Expecting around 30 people total at that event, so that'll be great. And then Institute and Oasis, August 3rd, so Institute will begin about 7:30 that morning with breakfast, and then by lunchtime, around 12:45, 12:30, something like that, we'll be heading to Oasis, so we're looking forward to that. It's one of our favorite days. And Meet the Teacher at Orange Beach Elementary is August 5th, followed by Make Us All Maine that evening at the Wharf. And then the first day of school is coming quickly, August 6th, so we're looking forward to that as well. Hope to see you at all those events and more. Matt Galva, there's lots, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this time, I'm gonna invite Shane Alexander to come up. I think you're next to give us an athletics update.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of recap the 25-26 athletic school year of some of our accomplishments. So we have 9 sports that are eligible for area championships. 7 of our 9 were area champs this year, which is phenomenal. We had 2 teams that were regional or section champs. And of course, we've had 2 state champions this previous year, the cheerleading and softball team. Recently, according to the rankings, our softball team was finished number 2 in the nation in the NFCA, number 5 in Max Preps, and recently they were just named number 1 in the nation for small town schools, which is usually schools with less than 1,000 students. So very proud of them for that. Overall, we had 23 all-state players throughout our sports program, which is a phenomenal number. And we had 3 that were considered super all-state, which is where they take classifications 1 through 7A and create a team. And we had three student athletes that earned that recognition. We also recently just had 4 Max Preps All-Americans. Katie King, Ava Hodo, MK McMullen, and Jay Palmer, which is a huge honor. We had a Player of the Year in softball, Katie King, who's getting ready to head off to the University of Arkansas. We had a Pitcher of the Year, MK McMullen. She was also the Alabama Max Preps Player of the Year. Thankfully, we get her for another 2 years. We also had a Coach of the Year. Chris Leonardi was the 4A Girls Soccer Coach of the Year in his first year. Led them to a Final Four. Did phenomenal things. And we had 3 student athletes that were selected in the Alabama High School. Will compete in 2 weeks in the North-South All-Star Games. Well, of course, Dylan Tabb has already, they did that back after football season, but we've got a girls golfer and a girls soccer player that will be playing in Montgomery in 2 weeks. So very proud of our accomplishments, and hopefully we keep that up.
I have a question. Weren't you also listed within the last few weeks to another position?
Another position.
Not in the state. Weren't you recognized as one of the most outstanding coaches in the state, in the country?
You have, he was
He
one
was,
of one of the 5 in Alabama recognized nationally.
Oh, okay, well. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything to you. But I just wanted to point that out. Thank you for your hard work too. Glad to hear.
Can we take just a second? Can you tell the board what reclassification is going to do for us this year? In a nutshell, I know that's a big.
So obviously, public and private are going their own way. It's going to be really good for some of our sports. I think, it's going to be a little tougher in certain sports. I think you know good and well what I'm talking about. But
Yes.
yeah, football and boys basketball have got a challenge in our region. But I think overall, I'm hoping these numbers next year are even better. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but I think our kids are ready for it, and I'm anxious to see.
6 classifications, we're now one of the smaller 4.
Small boy, yeah. So,
And our sophomore class, this junior class right now is a big reason, because we've got 130 guys. There's a chance we might move down in 2 years' time. We'll play anybody anywhere, right, Coach?
absolutely.
All right.
Speaking of, that number, whoever was number 1, where we were number 2, but we should invite them to come play.
Oh, we're playing next year.
That happened, last minute did not, they surpassed us.
Yeah, the ones that were 1 and 2 in some of the preps, we've already scheduled them for next year. So one of them's coming here, and we're going to see the other ones. So,
Good.
We get better by playing the best.
absolutely.
All right, Coach, thank you so much.
All right, and now I'm going to invite Mr. Shaw to come up and talk to us about some clubs.
There's a lot of clubs, so I'm going to hit the highlights, and something that I'm proud of, for the school our size, we have 17 clubs and organizations at Orange Beach Middle and High School. And one I'm going to brag off right off the top of the bat is our skeet and trap shooting team. Got some statistics here. They compete in regional and state competitions through the Alabama Scholastic Clay Target Program. The team earned 2nd place overall in trap at the Alabama SCTP State Championships, held at the Red Eagle Skeet and Trap Club in Childersburg. We have some individual honors. Connor Parker winning the Senior Division Trap Championship. And high overall trap champion, Brett Tyndall placing 2nd in the Intermediate Advanced Trap. Brooks Mann finished 2nd in the Intermediate Entry-Level Trap. And Chase Krause earned 3rd in the Intermediate Entry-Level Trap. Our skeet and trap team does an amazing job. Very appreciative of the city offering that, building that new facility out there, and that really helps us, and just so very proud of that. Some other highlights, we had, our Scholars Bowl. A lot of people don't know we have Scholars Bowls, kind of like, if you like trivia and what have you. Ms. Prater, our AP Spanish teacher, heads that up. And we compete against public schools and private schools throughout the state. And our Scholars Bowl team has done very well. They competed in several competitions in Montgomery and in Mobile. Of course, SGA, the leadership, we have a leadership class with SGA where they plan all our events. SGA, of course, is very heavily involved, and they plan our dances, they plan our homecoming, they plan prom. They just do so many different things. Teacher appreciation activities and everything with that is really driven student led. And then what we have also, we have Student Ambassadors Program, something that really represents our school very well. Our student ambassadors go around and show we have so many people from all over the state and all over the country. Ms. Cherney's my favorite school tour coordinator, and we get a lot of people who come to visit our school and our students during the school year. They have nice little blazers and everything. They look very sharp, and they represent and they show the entire school. They're very knowledgeable in what academics we offer, what sports we offer, our extracurricular. And so our Student Ambassador Program is something that I'm very proud of that we have. Peer Helpers, Ms. Owen, our guidance counselor with Peer Helpers. That organization does so much. They help with everything from Red Ribbon Week to helping go into the elementary school and helping, Dr. Law, now Ms. Hart going over there as far as coordinating and have those relationships with the elementary students, whether it be a Mardi Gras parade or help them, as far as reading or helping them enjoy things, and very proud of their relationship to the elementary school. We have now an esports club. Esports is a sanctioned sport per se in AHSA, and so we have a esports which is very popular. As we know, if you have students, a lot of people have PlayStation and they have these games and they compete with schools all across the state. And they have state championship in different categories. It's up in Birmingham, and it's a club that we started, which we're very proud of, with our esports. And then we also have a book club. We have a book club, Ms. Ferguson, our librarian, started a book club, and it has over 30 students in there, and they read a book every month, and they sit around and they discuss it, from books from Shakespeare to modern literature in our book club, and they meet religiously, and we have students who now love to read books. That's kind of unusual this day and age, in the digital age, but we have a lot of students who are getting to read so many books. Another thing is we have a fishing club, and of course around here, that's something that is very popular, and so we just getting off the second semester last year, we started a fishing club, which students are very excited about, especially being around here.
Do they miss school for that?
What's that?
Do they miss school for that?
They do not. Right now, they do not miss school.
Do they compete against other?
Yes, it's other clubs and things like that, and the big thing is, of course, bass fishing. Especially schools over, the East schools out there that have a lake. Schools like in Auburn or up in North Alabama. Yes, we have a fishing club. And then we have, traditional, we have a Key Club, which is a leadership club with business leaders in the community. We have a Key Club that goes out and volunteers and helps people from in the community, from the elderly, and then they help people with different businesses, and they kind of volunteer, and they've done some internships through Key Club. And then something that's really big is FCA. As you know, we have Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We have speakers who all come to speak to our students. We have leaders in our community. For example, we had Eric West, who played Major League Baseball, and he came to speak to our students once a month. And it's an organization that I'm very proud, and they're leaders in the school. They do the prayer at the pole. They have the prayer at the pole, which is a nice tradition where our students come together, and that's organized by our FCA. And then other things we have Mu Alpha Theta, which is our Math Honor Society. We also have a Science Honor Society and an English Honor Society. So a lot of people think it's just National Honor Society, National Junior Honor Society, which we also do have. But we have all these other honor societies that students are competing in, and they're really proud to do that. And then also we have our Spanish Honor Society. So those are just a few of our highlights of our clubs. Like I said, we have 17 and growing. And I do anticipate here in the next year we'll probably be at 20 plus.
Any questions regarding all those opportunities for students?
We've come a very long way since the class of 2020.
Yes, we have. I think all this is really important for us to take in as we start to look at Graduate by Design, our strategic plan moving forward, to have all this information, to realize we're doing much more than just teaching the 3 R's in the classroom. So, thank you. Good. Is that all the announcements, Dr. Wong?
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Actually, we have one more, and that is the special needs bus. I made reference to this a couple of days ago. Wanted to know if you had any questions regarding the special needs bus. Mr. Gray has verified we have been receiving fleet renewal, and it's just been accumulating, and we have more than enough money in fleet renewal to make this purchase. The other bus is 13 years old. We really need 2 handicap type buses in our district, so we can run a route, we can go to an extracurricular event or something of this nature, we can go on a field trip and so forth. So I think it's worthwhile, and we're lucky. Normally this is a 2, 3, maybe even 6 month wait. This bus just kind of fell in our lap, and it'll be ready in 2 weeks. And again, it's a special needs bus, so that really is even more odd. And Mr. Steinlage says that the new engines, after this model runs out, will cost another $25,000. So we're getting it quick, and we're getting it probably less than we would if we waited another 4 or 5 months. Do you have any questions about that?
It is coming from the fleet maneuver funds.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
already sitting.
It's already budgeted, and it doesn't require a bid because it's via Sourcewell, so it's really no board action. I just want you to know as a board, if you see a new bus running around town, you know, this is where it came from, okay? All right.
Thank you. We're down to action items.
Action item number 1, the superintendent recommends the approval of the following personnel recommendations. Mr. McKinney, I'll ask if there are any set-asides.
See none?
All right, we have a recommendation for certified persons in regards to resignation of certified employees for the 26-27 school year. The employment recommendations of certified employees for the 26-27 school year. Temporary part-time employment recommendations of adjunct employees for the 26-27 school year. And we have a few classified items. Resignation of classified employees for the 26-27 school year, and employment recommendations of classified employees for that same year.
Got an opportunity to review the personnel list. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Action item number 2, we have a few performance contracts. The superintendent recommends the approval of the performance contracts and the link that has been provided for you.
Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Action item number 3, the superintendent recommends approval of the attached financial statements. They're all for the month of May.
Chair would entertain a motion concerning the financial statements.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion for its approval and a second. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Action item number 4, the superintendent recommends approval of the vendor service agreement and the link provided.
Chair would entertain a motion concerning the recommendation of the vendor service agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for its approval. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Mr. McKinney, that's all the action items. We have a request tonight to enter an executive session. Board attorney will, of course, have to agree to this, and it's for purposes of threatened litigation, imminently likely litigation, and other legal matters where we need advice of counsel.
Potential threatened litigation is appropriate reason to enter executive session under the Alabama Open Meetings Act as amended. We'll need a motion second, roll call vote, and also we'll need to notify the public how long it'll take and if we'll take action afterwards.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. McKinney?
Yay.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Nix?
Yes.
Mr. Schindel?
Yay.
Mr. Lewis?
Motion carries. Length of time.
I don't think it'll take longer than 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
30 minutes. We estimate that to take 30 minutes. And do you anticipate any further business when we return?
Other than adjournment.
So we will move into the executive session, and we will not conduct any further business after the conclusion of that session, other than to adjourn. Thank you. I'd like to reconvene the meeting. We've completed the executive session. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.